Hi, my name is Marcus Connect. I'm a former third-round pick by the Toronto Blue Jays, and I've brought to you today a man I hold dear as a friend. His name is Doug McKeen, founder of
EPF Sports, and we would like to share with you some need-to-knows about hitting that you probably won't hear anywhere else. But first, I want you to get to know Doug a little bit. So, Doug, why don't you tell them a little bit about your story?
Sure. So, I started coaching hitting instruction 20 plus years ago. Don't remember exactly when it was, but it was at least 23 years. And I started off with coaching the swing, so swing mechanics and so on. And as I worked with a lot of great coaches, learned a lot from coaches, I would say I became very competent at developing great swings in young players. And I was sending players down to play in the U.S. college system, and sometimes they would be struggling, even though they had, in BP and front toss, they had very effective swings, could launch balls. And so I started digging deeper and deeper, and that took me into the vision piece. And of course, we all know this is a hugely important topic for hitters, is to understand how we can improve our vision. So at that point in time, I had both the vision piece and the mechanical piece. And again, still hitters with better vision, technique, and better mechanics were still struggling in games. And of course that led to the mental side of the game. And I dug right in. I'm a guy who likes to work hard, research a lot. I study a lot of film. And I was working with some of the best sports psychologists that can be found anywhere. You know, all the big names that come immediately to one's mind, Ken Ravizza and Dorfman and so on. So, but that was helping, and I was helping players better. My goal always was to help players perform better in the games. You know, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's the moment of truth, is that player able to perform better in their games. And about 6 years ago, so I was working with a sports psychology. It wasn't solving all of the issues. And about 6 years ago, I dug up some neuroscience. It came to me in a strange way. One day I was driving along in my car and it was talking about the stock market, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And I began to deeply research neuroscience. I worked with a fellow who taught me the neuroscience piece, and that completely changed my ability to help players when either they're on the mound if they're a pitcher or if they were in the box, to perform at their best when it counts the most. It was a revolution to me. And once I understood how the mind worked and which parts of the brain we want to use at different times when we're hitting or pitching, it just became so easy for me to help players to perform at their best when it counted the most.
So what's the difference between sports psychology and neuroscience?
I think the neuroscience led me, Marcus, to an understanding of the parts of the brain and what each part is responsible for. And it wasn't that sports science wasn't, sports psychology wasn't important. It was good before the game, after the game, but it wasn't helping me to be an effective coach when they're standing in the box. And that's what neuroscience opened up to me, is at that moment of truth, when the player is standing in the box, how to perform at their best. Yeah.
So you have a good idea of how players are supposed to feel in the box?
Yes.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from neuroscience?
The largest thing that I've learned from neuroscience, well, obviously, I guess I've explained already that you have to be in a certain place in your brain, because certain parts of our brain are responsible for the motion and certain parts of our brain are responsible for the planning. And so it was that important thing that I wasn't able to help players realize that there's a planning stage to the process, but there's also an execution stage. And if you slur those boundaries, if you're still in planning stage when you're in the execution time, you're going to experience all the negative effects of that part of your brain. So for example, as a hitter, you spent many years in professional baseball. Tell me what it was like, let's call it a dark day, Marcus. Just describe that, how the ball looked to you, how you felt, what you were thinking, what you were experiencing, what your body felt like, and what your results were like, okay?
Okay. Well, I would usually wake up that day, and the first thing I would think of is the game. And immediately I would already be thinking about the results that I would get during the game and what I was going to do that day to produce the results. And then I go to the cage. I go to the field early, get ready, do my thing, and hit straight to the cage. Take a bunch of swings. Feel everything. Sweat buckets. Put my work in, and I would still go to the game with a scattered mind. I would still have the practice on my mind, and a dark day would mean swinging at bad pitches. It would mean which would mean I wasn't seeing the ball well, which would mean I wasn't focused on the target. I was anxious. I was jumpy. My eyes would bounce. My swing wouldn't be on. And I wouldn't really know what was going on. Really, I would. What else?
How did your swing feel?
It felt tight. The swing felt tight. It was off balance. It was rushed. I was late. I was always late. Probably too occupied with thinking, with mechanical stuff to remember to time up the pitch. My swing, it just wasn't on. I'd foul pitches back, or I'd swing at bad pitches, which is the thing that got me swinging, and then develop maybe a tendency to swing at more bad pitches because of that. So.
But in this time, my guess would be that you were really trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I was trying very hard.
And I'll bet you there weren't many guys, if anybody, on the team working harder than you were working.
No, I was working hard, and everybody knew it. And I took pride in working hard, even though I would have liked to just have it from the get-go. I mean, I did put in a lot of hours working on my swing, and it's tough to say. It's tough to say what I was doing, if what I was doing was the right thing to do. Now that I look back on it.
Now that you look back on it?
Well, yeah. After learning more about what you teach, it really made me believe that, well, you don't really have to do that. Am I right? You don't, and I know I'm right. Just working on your swing on something that's already grooved and already there, and interfering with that, it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So.
But you were not unique. You realize that now. There are thousands of players who are experiencing exactly the same scenario. College players, professional players. all experiencing the same thing. They're all wanting to be better. They all know their potential, and their coaches know their potential. And when they fall short of their potential, where do they go to try to play at their true potential? Where do they go?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Where do they go?
Where do they go?
Well, they go straight to the cage,
Yeah.
and they go do reps. They grind,
Yeah.
and that's all they know what to do. It's all they know how to do.
Because their belief system is that if I'm not hitting well, it must be my mechanics.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
of course.
Yeah. Because that's all you see with your eyes.
Yeah.
But there is another level that I discovered through the neuroscience that helped me a lot to understand. There's another level below what we see. In other words, if a player is struggling, let's suppose he misses, like he hooks out around the ball, okay?
Right.
Typically, what would a coach say to him?
Well, if a player got around the ball and hooked it for a rollover, the next thing they would say is stay inside the ball.
Right.
Probably.
Sure. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. The coach is attempting to fix the situation based on what his eyes see, right? But the next level below that is, unless this player every single time hooks around the ball, why did he hook around the ball in that particular situation? That's the level that the player needs to get to. And when he can have an understanding of why did his body respond that way to a pitch coming at him, he now is free to solve his own problems. But as long as we don't understand why the body did that in that situation, we're a prisoner to that same scenario happening over and over and over again. Now, if the player goes to the cage, Marcus, and works on staying inside the ball, is that the solution?
No.
No. Because what can happen then? If you're just working endlessly on staying inside the ball, what can happen?
A million different things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sure. What are you going to do
What
with
would
that
you-
outside pitch?
So what would you say to somebody who's been rolling over lately? What would be your quick fix to that?
Okay. I would, first of all, talk to the player.
Yeah.
And I would ask the player, how did you feel when the pitch came at you? What were you thinking about? Because if we understand, everyone should understand, the mind controls the body. Right?
Okay.
The mind controls the body. So if the body does something different, something has changed in the mind. And the body responded to whatever was the command coming from the mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if that particular player, and if I can find out, okay, he was worrying about getting a hit, or he's worried about his place in the batting order, or he didn't want to strike out again, or any of these scenarios, right?
Could you name some other ones? Like what else would cause a hitter to roll over?
He's not seeing the ball well. I want to know that piece. How well is he seeing the ball out of the hand?
Yeah.
How well is he tracking it? Is he reading the spin as it's coming towards him? So if those things aren't happening, of course his timing will be off if he's not seeing the ball well.
Right.
And that
But
will,
you said if a player is scared to lose a spot in the batting order, or the coach scared to upset his coach, what if we're talking about a 3-hole, 4-hole hitter who has a guaranteed position and that's not his fear?
Mhm. Okay, so maybe he's now trying to be the big man on campus. So maybe his approach at the plate is, I want to hit another home run. Maybe his expectation on him is that he's a 18 or 20 home run a year guy, and he's played 12 games and he's only hit one.
Okay.
So what's happening is his mind is putting pressure on his body to hit a home run. And when he tries harder to hit the home run, he's going to tighten up and swing harder. That's very common, and that's what's going to cause, what we're seeing as a response. Typical story would be a a young man struggling, Division I school. This was about 2 months ago. And there he is struggling, and he's not seeing the ball well, but he started off the season really well. First games, he was 4 for 4, playing down in Texas, and doing really, really well. So, of course, he goes afterwards, and being baseball, his stats drop, obviously. No one can maintain 4 for 4 every game in Division I baseball. It's just that hard to hit a ball. And it started to drop, and then he starts to press, he starts to stress because his batting average has dropped from 320 now to 280, now to 240, and he's experiencing pressure and stress on himself to get his batting average going. And then after, he's tight, he's rolling over, and the coach pulls him aside and he says to the player, well, you're just being selfish because you're trying to hit home runs. Is the player doing that?
No, in reality, he's always trying
to... He just wants to get a hit.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get out.
He just doesn't want to get out.
So that's very common.
Totally common. And all players, virtually all players, will experience those times. There are a few rare players who, for some reason of their upbringing or their experiences, just don't experience tension, anxiety, worry, nervousness, pressure in their games. But there are very few, about 1 in 20. But the rest are somewhere on a continuum of experiencing these conditions when things aren't going their way. It's obviously to us all that we want to do our best in a game. Correct?
Yeah.
But this is a tough game. This game of baseball is a really tough game. And when I break it down, or you break it down for us, Marcus, what can you control when you're at the plate? Can you control the pitch that's going to come to you?
No.
No. What can you control then?
What can you control?
Yeah, what are the things within your ability to control when you're at the plate?
Well, you can't control the pitch. You can't control where it goes.
No.
You can't control how it goes.
No. Can you control the ump?
You can't control the ump. I'm not even certain you can control what pitches you swing at. But it takes the only thing you can control is how you think prior to the at-bat and during the at-bat.
Correct.
And that's what I've learned. And that's what you teach, right? So, okay, so what's the importance of what you teach?
Because when you look at your best hitting days, and you look at them, and players will always describe this exactly the same way. The ball looked bigger or slower. I didn't feel rushed. I seemed to have time. I was watching the ball come in, and I felt like I was on automatic pilot. I wasn't controlling anything. I just watched the ball come in, and then somehow I watched it go out. Well, you didn't watch it go out because you're running to first, but the ball just went out. If I asked them, how was your timing on those good days? What would you answer?
Yeah, perfect.
Right on.
Right on.
You squaring the ball?
Yeah.
How's your swing feel?
Nice. I'd probably just answer with one-word answers.
Sure, absolutely. Smooth, fluid, quick. Yes. So let's go to the dark day. It's virtually the opposite, isn't it? The ball looks smaller. The ball looks quicker. It seems to get on you quicker. It's just a white blur. I can't tell very well balls from strikes. How does your swing feel? Tight. How's your timing? Ugly. I can muscle out a hit the odd times on those days, but everything feels off. I feel rushed. My mind is just racing at the plate. I'm so, he might throw me a curveball here. It could be a slider, blah, 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 blah. The mind is just very much that way. When we compare the 2 days, The only difference is your mind on the good day versus your mind on the bad day. And the difference there is what part of the brain you're using. So guess what happens when you get training on using the best part of your brain when you're at the plate? Now the ball looks smaller, larger or slower. Now your swing feels more fluid. It feels more effortless. Your timing improves. And that's only what part of the brain you're using when you go to the plate.
So you're saying that a lot of the players don't use that brain
That's
in
correct.
practice?
They don't practice using that part of their brain.
So what do they do when they're practicing? What type of brain, what part of the brain are they using when they're practicing now, you would say?
The thinking part of the brain. The ego part of the brain. It's one place in the front of the brain here. There's a big name for it, prefrontal cortex, but we don't need to go there. It's just the boss of the brain. So they're using that, and the ego is always there chirping away at us. It's like that little negative voice in our head is the ego, right? So they'll want to, batting practice, they're competing with the other. Oh, he hit. Do you see that shot? I can do, you know what I mean? So we're always comparing and contrasting ourselves with the other hitters, trying to hit it further and harder and stuff like that. And yet, when we perform at our best, that part of the brain goes offline. It goes quiet. And you know yourself, Marcus, when you watch hitters have a good day at the plate or a good at bat, and we only get to see major league hitters being interviewed, right? But it wouldn't matter. You could interview a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old. You ever notice what they're able to describe?
No, what is it?
I was feeling good that day. Or, I don't know, I was seeing the ball well that day. They never would say, I was feeling rushed that day. My mind was just racing. I was really working on getting my back elbow in behind my hip. I was really thinking about that pitch, and as it came at me, I recognized that it was a slider. My brain thought slider, but it ended up being a fastball, and I still got around on it. No. They never talk that way. They struggle to describe. They struggle to describe that particular at-bat. And truth be told, many times they couldn't even tell you what the pitch was. They went back to the dugout, and the guys in the dugout or the hitting coach said, "Hey, that was a slider. Did you realize that was a slider?" And they probably, in all truth, would have said, "No, not too much." I watched the pitch come in, and I felt good, and I let it go. I felt like I was an automatic pilot. So there's nothing much to describe, is there? You see, understanding the brain helped me so much. And there's certain laws of motion. And one law of motion is this. You've had many years as a professional hitter.
That's correct.
Your swing is more or less grooved. It's stored in a certain place in your brain. Just like we learn to walk, we don't think about walking anymore. One of the most difficult things for human beings as a young child to learn to walk, right? And that's stored in your brain. It's there. It cannot be lost. When I learned to play golf, I was 25 years old, and I worked with a young friend of mine, well, he's my age, and he had been the provincial champion when he was in his teens. And my first 6 times on the course, he showed me everything. This is how you grip club, this is how you do this is how you do that. Right? We played about 5 or 6 times. I didn't play again for almost 40 years. Never picked up a club. And our church had a fundraiser, and we're having fun, and I went out on a foursome, part of a foursome. First 2 or 3 holes, not very good, digging out divots and stuff like that. And then I remembered a couple of his cues, and all of a sudden, just straight as an arrow. Couldn't putt worth a crap, because that's a whole different game. But I could hit balls, and everybody's going, "Oh my gosh, Doug, that's amazing. How did you?" So it can never be lost. A player's swing cannot be lost. But if we keep monkeying with the swing, Our brain gets confused as to which swing do you want me to use. If you keep changing your hands or you're this or you're that all the time, your brain has to have time to build that to become an automatic motion. Right? So tinkering with the swing, typically when you're struggling or you're in a bit of a slump, is only going to make it worse. You have to get back to your good basic swing, and everybody has a natural swing. You've worked for years on hitting a ball, right? So the first law is your swing cannot be lost, but you can lose access to your good swing in a heartbeat. And that's what happens to the players on the dark days. They lose access to their good swing. And all they're left with is trying to muscle out, guide the bat at the ball, direct it at the ball, looking for a hole to try and hit it through. You're really in a desperate place. When your best swing is there, right there waiting for you to access it. Lying right there. We just don't know how to access it. That's what we teach them. I teach them how to access their best swing in the game. How to recognize when their swing is off, how to recognize when their mind is off before they take their next swing, to know exactly the steps to get back to the good place again.
And then it fixes their mechanics.
It fixes their mechanics
Which
in
is
the
the crazy
heartbeat.
part.
Now, let's go to something else. So, we worked together not quite a year ago, right? Probably 10 months ago?
That was about a year.
About a year ago. Yeah, okay. Yes, the spring we were just getting outside. So, Marcus, tell me your first experience together. We had a brief coffee together, 10, 15 minutes, and then I said, let's go to the cages or a park, which we did, and we went to a facility, and tell me your experience.
Well, me and you met at a baseball facility, and we spoke for a couple minutes, and we started hitting right away. Well, we started swinging, hitting, went through a nice progression. And
like, I gave you a series of challenges, one at a time, right?
You gave me a series of challenges that were...
Did they seem weird?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
They seemed a little weird.
Yeah.
And I was, kind of doubting and untrusting.
Sure.
And I was not giving it my all. I was doing it my own way, and I wasn't getting too many results. But when you said something that clicked, and I saw some results, effortless results, right away, and I was sold.
What did you experience after our first session together, Marcus, or during it?
I experienced a feeling of freedom and looseness and bat speed at contact that I haven't experienced in years. It was just one session, and I have proof of that through another friend who tried the same cues, same mental cues, and he achieved the same feeling, and he looked extremely quick and loose, and he explained after our session of 30 minutes that was the best hitting session that we've had in 6 years.
And your friend also played professionally?
My friend also played professionally, for 5 years.
Okay.
Well, it just gave me hope. It gave me hope that all the, that my swing was still there.
Yeah.
And it just made me realize that you can access your swing on on demand if if you let it happen, right? And that your body, if you formulate the proper intention in your mind, then your body will organize itself around that proper goal,
Absolutely.
clear, and it will execute for you on demand, basically. And so once I grasped that, the idea that your body is pretty much a tool for your mind.
Yes, it is. Good
Right?
way to put it.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like your mind is the puppet master, right?
Yes.
Your mind is the puppet master, and your body follows. So any type of body adjustment that you make, any type of mechanical adjustment that you try to make, you in fact interrupt. You interrupt the smooth pattern, and you interrupt the intention that you already set. So once you set the intention, once you set the plan, then it's go time. And so once I grasped that, I knew it was possible. I knew it was. It's what I was looking for. It's what I was hoping there was. It was everything that I was hoping that baseball should be. And I went searching for it, and I finally found it. So.
But you made a great statement there. So it was a matter with the concept of the puppet master. I love that. I think you realized that setting the intention or the goal was super important, and then trusting that body to execute that intention or that goal.
That was by far that was the biggest epiphany that I had, the biggest paradigm shift was that once you articulate a goal gives you the best opportunity to succeed, then you let it go. And that is what trusting means, but I only understood that through your teachings, through what you taught. Like without what I learned through you, I don't know where I would be. I don't know what I would be teaching. I was in a place where I didn't believe in any mechanics whatsoever. Everything I tried failed miserably, and not miserably, but it wasn't consistent. And I was sick and tired of just every day focusing on something, or I was tired of having an attachment towards one certain tweak or adjustment. I was just sick and tired of thinking that I found something that worked and then somehow sabotaging it, or just having too much of a focus towards that one thing, and then it just breaks down and I'm back at square one, and without any idea what to do next. So, and I think that's most hitters, honestly. It's probably 80 and 90% of hitters that when they struggle, they forget what brought them success, and they forget because they have no idea what brings them success.
Correct.
So they don't actually forget. They just never know. They just leave it up to chance. Leave it up to chance. Leave it up to chance. They find success. They grasp at whatever they did that certain day, and then they stick to that. And then they maybe see success again, but then they're back to square one.
And as they experience success, they relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And as they relax a little bit, they start to perform better.
Yeah.
And then they start to perform better. And then they perform better. But then they'll get lazy. They'll walk to the plate just assuming, hey, it's going to happen for me, because it's been happening for me. And at that point in time, that should be the danger signal.
Yeah.
Whatever they focused on that helped them get to the better place, or they didn't focus on, it could be that too, they kind of forget about it.
Yeah, I think it's a pride thing. They think they can do whatever they want and just get results. Yeah, then they start making the mistakes they were making before. But still, they don't. They just. I mean, I never had a system that would bring me success. I never had something to fall back on when things were going. When I had a bad at bat. I mean, I would just. First of all, I couldn't wait to get up to bat again to redo my at bat. But in reality, I didn't really have a plan. My plan was to see a ball up in the zone and hit it hard. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, is that the right way to look at it? Would you recommend somebody just to say, I want to see a ball up and drive it? How would you break that down?
Well, is it working for you? That would be my first question. Is it working for you, that plan?
See a ball up and drive it.
I would ask the player, is that helping them? Is it working? Because you got a lot of pitches in a lot of locations.
Right. And so that's something that I always heard from coaches, right? See a ball up and drive it.
Oh, for sure. I'm not arguing with that we want to do our best job with the ball in that position because it's probably going to go a long way if we get it right? Yeah. The higher parts of the strike zone, balls will go a long way if you can mechanically get to it properly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those pitches will go a long way. Yeah.
And driving it, when you hear driving it, how does that make you feel?
Uncomfortable.
Yeah?
It makes me feel uncomfortable.
See, that's something that everybody wants to hit the ball hard, right? Everybody
Absolutely.
wants to. So, what I would tell a hitter who wants to hit the ball hard, I would tell him to scale it back, right? I would tell him to scale it back a notch, because hitting the ball hard, first of all, to hit the ball hard, you have to be on time, barrel it, and see it well out of the hand all the way in. So to say, oh, I just want to hit a ball hard, you're skipping all the major steps
That you need to hit it hard.
Right. So on top of that, hit it hard, to me, creates tension.
Yeah.
It creates an intent to get a good result that would make you happy. But in reality, that's and it might be disruptive, but that's not the way we teach, right? That's
Sure.
not the way.
That's not how I would teach them to hit that ball well. But let's go back to your statement. So the coach says, look for a ball up and hit it hard, right? So the mind then focuses on that. So the mind now is thinking, hit it hard and look for one that's up. Okay? Now, the player gets that pitch. So he recognizes, oh, it's up. What typically happens to the player when he recognizes that pitch is up?
What typically happens?
Yeah.
Well, every hitter's different, but you would probably tighten up.
Typically, they get anxious, excited,
Yeah,
jumpy.
excited.
Oh my gosh, here's my pitch, and I've been thinking, hit it hard. Boom, what happens? Pop it up, roll over on
Miss
it,
the pitch.
miss the pitch. So when they think those thoughts, they're working backwards from results, right? But what would we like to do if we get a pitch that's up? You'd like your body to be relaxed, not tight, right? You'd like to see the ball well. But if you get anxious on the pitch or excited, your vision, you'll notice, will go down.
Okay.
That's going to throw your timing off. because you're not tracking it in the same beautiful manner that you track your best pitches on your best hitting days. So we want to have the hitter prepared for when he gets that pitch to not waste it. Yeah. So whatever we want to tell the player is to help them to be relaxed, to see the ball the best that they possibly can, to track it in the best that they possibly can, to read it well, and then to trust their body to hit it. And that's, as crazy as that sounds, is the best way to hit that pitch. Ho hum, it's just another pitch coming at you. The challenge remains the same. The challenge remains the same. Can I see it as cleanly as if I were just taking it? If I told you, just go out and take that pitch, would you see it better than if the pitch came at you and you got all jumpy on it?
So what's the greatest challenge of hitting in your eyes?
In the game of baseball, there's a ton of drama. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of things that can pull you sideways, distract you. Crowd noise, people yelling, worrying about what the coach is thinking, placing the batting order. All these things are pulling our attention away from the only target when we're hitting. There's only one target when we're hitting, and that is the baseball. And we want to focus on that target, not serious intensity, but really see that target to the best of our ability. And to see the target to the best of our ability, we're fairly calm and relaxed. That's how we see that target the best. But if my goal at the plate, or my target at the plate, is to get a hit, or to not lose my place in the batting order, or all of these other things that can come into my brain, how much attention do I have left for the ball? My only true target? Not much. It's no wonder that I miss it as a hitter. I might only have 20% of my attention on the real target. So if we think of our attention as like the flashlight drill, so think of your attention as a flashlight, you shine it on the target, and you don't want to shine it in your head, so you're in your head thinking about all these other scenarios. You just want to just go, no, not interested, no, I'm just focusing on the target, and in it comes.
So if we believe, let's say for example we believe in neuroscience.
Yes.
We believe this to be true.
Okay.
And we trust the information that we get
Right.
about the brain. And there's been a lot of research on it.
Yeah.
Years and years of research. We know that there are different brains,
Right.
right? And there are ones that help you, and there are ones that
Will hurt you.
will hurt you. Or there's one that will hurt you. And we know that our body will rearrange and reorganize itself around
The goal.
the goal, right? And
Absolutely.
everything will happen for you if you're focused on the right
Goal.
goal. Okay. So when we set our goal to, even when we set a goal to hit a ball hard, let alone get a hit, where does our attention, where does our focus go?
Where does the focus go? You're going to lose some attention on the baseball.
Right.
Because you're going to have some part of your brain is going to be thinking, I've got to hit this ball hard.
Right, and that's not at all useful.
It's not useful at all. Now, working backwards again from the player, when he's hitting his best, that's the moment of truth. He is describing the very things that I didn't see initially as a coach. What was he describing? the ball looked bigger and slower. What were you thinking about? Nothing. There was nothing in my mind. It was like I was in a tunnel with the baseball coming at me. How was my swing? It felt great. It felt fluid. It felt smooth. How was your timing? Did you swing hard? No, I didn't swing hard. I don't even know what happened. It was just like I was on automatic pilot. They're describing the thing that I needed to learn, and without neuroscience, I could not have learned it. It's not in the sports psychology books. But neuroscience puts a cap on a person's head, and with, like all the modern technology today, probably in the last 10 years, they've been able to do this effectively. They see what part of the brain is working when the athlete is performing at his peak. And that's what changed everything. So we want to help the athlete to get to that place where they perform at their best.
Right. So the time and effort that you take working on your craft is more better put to use working to activate that part of your brain, as opposed to going external and working on a specific swing mechanics
Right.
for that specific day. You think it's much more beneficial to...
Well, yes, but to clarify your point, you have to do what you did. This is a tough game. You have to develop effective mechanics along the way. There's no shortchanging that. You have to put in tons and tons of hours in work to develop a solid set of mechanics. But the question I would put on the mechanics that you develop is, do you have variability in your mechanics? It's not one, you're not going to be a one-trick pony. If I get a low pitch, I can golf it. That's not it. It's that, can I hit the high pitch? Can I hit the low pitch? Can I hit the inside pitch? Can I hit the outside pitch? Can I track and find the breaking pitches, right? With movement. We need that in our good swing mechanics. But once you have that, you really need to shift your attention onto the target. And whatever will help you see the target better is where we want to go. And I'm still learning. But the more we can zero in on the target, and if you watch some of the best hitters in baseball today, and we could name a Mike Trout, but there's many of them, right? They use different swings on different pitches. So if you're going to be a swing guy, you need to have, let's say, 8 or 10 swings? You get fooled on the breaking pitch and you're out here, and then the next time you're up here jammed on it. So you're going to have to work on 10 different swings and have them completely grooved if we're going to go for the swing mechanics philosophy. And then you have to be able to dial that up on the pitches it's coming at you in less than 0.2 of a second. Because that's the time that you have at 90 plus miles an hour. So you got to be able to dial up that swing on that pitch at that time. That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Why not let your body figure it out?
That's what you're asking?
Yeah.
Why not just let your body
Let the body figure it out. That's what it's programmed to do. I mean, I have grandchildren. I watch these little grandchildren learn to walk. Do I tell them, now, when you take your first step, make sure you land heel first and then put your toe down and make sure that your weight is shifted this way and make sure that this hand is, if the left foot leads, I want my right. Do I say that? They can't even understand that. So how do they learn to walk? Their goal is to learn to walk like the big people. So how do they learn to walk? Fall down. Get back up. Fall backwards. Get back up. Fall frontwards. Get back up. Because they're learning balance and to move through space. So that, if you think how ingenious the body is to solve that issue, hitting a ball should be relatively easy.
Yeah. Good point.
So we need to appreciate the true genius of the human being. And that's what I learned. The true genius of the human being to solve these issues, left alone, to solve issues. But we still have to bring something to the table, and that is probably years. Would you agree? Baseball's a tough game. It's harsh. Years and years of swinging, right?
To
Get to a good basic
groove.
level of competence in this sport.
Yeah. Takes years and then extra. More than that when people aren't looking.
And you're going to work with
Lessons.
superior swing coaches that are going to help you to, but
Yeah.
I believe in variability in the swing,
Right.
having this ability to adjust to different pitches. Do you have that in your swing? And then you work on the piece. I have a theory. More important when a player walks to the plate is how they feel than how they swing. So there's a statement. React to that.
Me?
Yes.
So how they feel over how they swing.
Yeah. So we're talking about a college or a professional player. They've developed a set of mechanics. So I'm saying I feel that right now it's personally more important how they feel when they're in the box than actually the nature of their swing mechanic. Because they're already good. They wouldn't be there if they weren't.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with how you feel is how you perform.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least how you perform, it dictates how you feel. Really.
Mm-hmm.
The quality of your swings, the quality of your at-bats, how you feel bleeds right into that, and it's so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the confident hitters, they hit,
Mm-hmm.
and but the ones with the nice swing mechanics don't always hit.
Correct.
And so you're asking,
You
what?
kind of answered it.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 o'clock hitter, right? You played with a lot of those. Unbelievable in BP. And then
It's because they don't trust, so they don't have something that they can trust deeply in enough, right?
That's
they don't believe in. It's not themselves. They don't believe in themselves. They just don't have the right process in place.
They don't have
Because
the right
everybody
process.
believes in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody believes in themselves. They just need to be given the framework that will allow them to structure their thoughts in a way that will prove to themselves that they believe in themselves.
Absolutely.
So realizing that was a big breakthrough for me, and I would never teach elite hitting another way. There are a lot of there are a lot of comments I could make when it comes to swing mechanics and but now I would think a lot deeper before I make a comment about someone's swing. I would really take a look and really, before I say anything, I would get a lot deeper into the mind of the hitter.
Oh, for sure.
After what I've learned, and because it's not about quick fixes, not about external fixes. It's about the why. Like, why did you do that? Why did you get that result? Why? How are you feeling? And that's
How did the ball look to you when it came at you?
right.
But you see, you're going to be a more effective coach because you're understanding the why level below what my eyes see. I don't want to put a Band-Aid over a shotgun wound, right? If this kid is rolling over, right? I don't want him to wait longer to whatever might be my mechanical fix to that. I want to make sure that, well, why is he rolling over? How's he feeling when the pitch comes at him? And chances are, at the lower levels, he's getting anxious about the pitch. That's what's happening. He's getting anxious about the pitch, and he's trying to hammer it. So you solve that issue for the kid where he's staying quite calm, then on the pitches coming at him, all of a sudden that mechanical flaw that you're seeing will disappear in a heartbeat.
So we're talking about awareness.
I'm sorry?
We're talking about awareness.
We absolutely are, yeah.
And we're talking about awareness and the importance of being aware of what you're doing, because if you aren't aware of what you're doing wrong, you'll never know how to fix it.
You're in a
right?
prison of repeating the mouse in the wheel. You're just going to have to go over and over and over, but you can never get off the wheel.
Right. So how do you apply that to somebody how do you apply that to hitting? If you do the same thing over and over and over, getting the same results, then it's time to change.
It's time to change.
But the thing about hitting is there's so many different things to change, right?
Absolutely.
It's
a tough thing.
Physically, there's so many things that you could change, right? So
Sure.
you take your pick of 1,000 things that you could start working on. 100 drills, but they don't. A lot of them don't eat at the problem. They don't solve any type of problem.
Correct.
So
And the problem is that they're not getting to the puppet master. They're dealing with the puppet. Oh, I'm going to shorten the strings on the puppet because it's not dancing right. Right? I'm going to attach the string to a different place on the foot of the puppet. Well, let's go to the puppet master. That's what's controlling the puppet. And this sounds like really PhD in psychology stuff. It really isn't. The thing is, as a professional hitter, or as a hitter, when you're not going well, you're really aware of a lot of things, aren't you? Your hands don't feel right at the top. Your swing doesn't feel right. You didn't seem to land right. Your balance, like it could be any one of a number of things, right? Isn't that true? When you're struggling? Like your awareness is really high to things feeling not right, whatever right is. So isn't it normal to go about trying to change what felt wrong?
it is.
Absolutely. So that makes total sense to my brain, right? And the problem is that although it makes sense to my brain, it isn't the best way to go about solving the issue. It's not going to lead to the permanent solution.
So can you repeat that?
Well, okay, let's take something simple. You're in a game and let's say you're struggling at the plate, okay? Player. And you become aware that, well, what might you become aware of? Give me a typical example of what you might become aware of when your timing is off, you're missing a little over and under, like stuff like that.
Well, you're aware of the ball
Yep.
looking
Different. But in your body, what might you be aware of?
For me, it's vision. I'm aware that I can't see the ball as well,
Yep.
and I'm aware that my hands nothing feels comfortable. My hands are tight.
Your hands are tight and nothing feels comfortable. Right?
So why?
So you're experiencing these things, right?
Yeah.
And could it be that you don't like where your front foot's landing, or you're struggling to get it down on time, or like something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you hook out around a ball?
Yeah.
Well, so what typically would you do the next day after having experienced that? What are you going to do the next day when you come in early?
Well, I'd probably try 1,000 places to put my hands.
Yes.
That's after looking.
Maybe
doing
at some video?
stances, looking at video, doing stances in the mirror, taking dry swings, and then finally trying something in the game. Trying something in the practice.
Yeah.
And then take it into BP, and then try it out in the game. And then if that doesn't work, if it still feels uncomfortable, then I'll go somewhere else. Or sometimes I'll even change my hands 3 to 4 times in a bat. in a game, sorry. Each at bat, try something new, try something new, try something new.
Might you come off and ask the other players what they're seeing, or the hitting coach might say something to you, or you might ask the hitting coach, what are you seeing?
Well, a lot of guys do. I've heard
Sure.
a lot of guys do. Ask what's wrong, what they see, or what I see. A lot of hitters ask me what they see. Or what I see, sorry.
Sure.
And it's just pointless. Because they're just going to tell you what they see, from face value. And the smart hitting coaches just wouldn't say anything.
Probably.
Or they would ask you a question back.
That's
saying,
good. That's good if they're approaching it that way.
Yeah, saying, well, what did you feel? That'd be a good question to ask.
Yes. What did you feel?
And they just, okay, I felt jumpy. What would you say?
Why do you think you felt jumpy?
Why do I think I felt jumpy? Because I was just rushing.
Why were you rushing?
Because I was rushing because I was late.
Why do you think you were late?
I was late because I didn't see the ball on time. Didn't see the ball out of the hand.
Oh, okay. Any idea why you didn't see the ball out of his hand?
Because I was thinking about my hands.
So you just solved your own problem.
But is that solving it by?
In a way. What were you thinking about then? What do you think you'd like to be thinking about when you're at the plate?
Well,
Or not thinking about anything, but what would you like to focus on? Where your hands are? Or seeing the pitch out of the hand? Clear as a bell.
right. Seeing the pitch out of the hand that clears the bell.
So you're already starting to progress towards solving your issue.
Okay.
You just help to lead the player through it. Most of the time they'll figure it out for themselves. Their focus or goal, that's the word you use and I love it, or intention, was somewhere else other than on the target. And when they bring their attention back to the target, that's going to help them immediately.
So the intent was to make my hands feel, to find a place to put my hands. That was my intent.
Sure.
To feel comfortable in the box. That was my intent.
Right. But those changes that, let's say you get your hands feeling right. Now you're struggling with something else, right? What did you see there? It's a bottomless pit. It's a bottomless pit. You're looking for something that's wrong and trying to fix it.
Okay.
And that'll never stop. That can be endless. If I post a video of a young hitter on the net, I might have 100 responses of something different that they see.
Yeah.
Got his elbow in the wrong place, or he needs to learn to get it, blah, 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 blah. And it never ends for the player. It's just a wheel that keeps turning and turning, turning. But again, if we go back to when you perform at your best, it just should be the only goal for the player. What's it like in my mind, and what am I focusing on when I'm performing at my best? And ask that question. And the answers come. And what we help them do is to realize and to take systematic steps so they get to that best place first. And to instantly recognize when they aren't in that best place and then get to that best place immediately between pitches.
Powerful.
Rather than struggle with an at-bat. Oftentimes I can set up a second at-bat, and a third at-bat, and a fourth, and a fifth, right? And maybe you sleep well that night, and you come back the next day and you have a better day, right? Great. But you haven't really learned why you're off when you're off and how to get back to the good place instantly. So instead of wasting a game, right between pitches, making your adjustments.